The Trump administration for the United States of America sparks an all-out trade war around the world. It could be worse in world economy, and it could hurt normal citizen in all countries that has been affected by Trump's imposed tariffs. The trade war, a tale of tariffs and tensions. It was 2018 when the world began to notice the rumblings of something big coming from Washington, D.C. under the leadership of President Donald Trump. The United States, once the global champion of free trade, took a sharp turn toward protectionism. In a series of high-profile moves, the Trump administration imposed heavy tariffs on a range of goods, particularly targeting China, but also affecting Europe, Canada, Mexico, and other allies. The story began with the goal of America First. Trump had long criticized trade deals that he believed were unfair to the U.S. He argued that these agreements, including NAFTA and the World Trade Organization's rules, allowed other countries to take advantage of American workers. One of his most vocal grievances was with China, accusing it of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and overproduction of goods that undercut U.S. manufacturers. In March 2018, the Trump administration enacted a 25% tariff on steel and a 10% tariff on aluminum imports, citing national security concerns. The move was seen as a warning shot, a precursor to something bigger, a full-blown trade war. China, the world's second-largest economy, was the primary target. Trump slapped $50 billion worth of tariffs on Chinese goods, and in response, China retaliated with tariffs on U.S. products, including soybeans, cars, and chemicals. It didn't stop there. Trump imposed tariffs on a wide range of other goods, from washing machines to solar panels to industrial equipment. Each new wave of tariffs was met with more retaliatory measures from countries around the world. The U.S. was becoming a fortress, its leaders hoping that the threat of higher prices would force other nations to play by American rules. The impact on the U.S. economy. At first glance, it might seem that the tariffs were working. Trump's supporters argued that the increased tariffs would bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. They would level the playing field, giving American companies an edge in a world where cheap foreign labor had eroded their competitive advantage. However, the reality was more complicated. The tariffs led to higher costs for American businesses that relied on imports for raw materials. The steel tariffs, for example, hurt industries like automotive and construction, which saw their costs soar. Car manufacturers in Detroit had to adjust to higher steel prices, which squeezed their profit margins and, in some cases, led to higher prices for consumers. Additionally, American farmers were hit hard by China's retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agricultural products, particularly soybeans. Farmers who relied on Chinese markets found themselves with dwindling orders and mounting losses. Trump's administration stepped in with a subsidy program to help, but it was clear that the trade war was costing the U.S. economy more than many had anticipated. Global repercussions. The impact of the tariffs wasn't limited to the U.S. China, for example, began looking for alternative markets. Its companies sourced materials and components from places like Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and even Latin America, weakening the U.S.'s dominant position in global supply chains. European Union countries, similarly, took action. The EU imposed tariffs on iconic American products like bourbon, motorcycles, and jeans. Tensions flared as the EU and the U.S. bickered over trade policies, undermining long-standing alliances that had been forged over decades of cooperation. The World Trade Organization, WTO, was dragged into the mess, as multiple countries filed complaints against the U.S. for violating global trade rules. In the midst of it all, Trump doubled down, arguing that tariffs were a necessary tool to ensure the U.S. regained its economic standing. Negotiations and shifting alliances. By 2019, the impact of the tariffs was being felt worldwide, and the pressure was mounting. Trump's aggressive approach forced some countries to reconsider their strategies. Mexico and Canada, for instance, agreed to renegotiate NAFTA and struck a new deal known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, which included updated provisions on trade, labor, and environmental regulations.